Hello and welcome to IGN Overclocked, episode 21. Again, because we lost it. It was a good show, and now it is dead because technology is the greatest. My name is your host, Mitch Dyer. Good enough. I'm very tired. It's been a very long day. It's very busy here at IGN. Joining me as always is Dan Stapleton.
Hi, your host.
Thank you.
Your host, Mitch.
Your hostessness.
Returning guests, Vince Ingenito.
Hi.
And Miranda Sanchez.
Hello, I'm back.
I'm so happy to have you both here. We've got some good topics. Not the least of which, Miranda, the reason I'm excited to have you here, we're going to talk about Dota 2.
Dota! It's like, if I'm here, we're probably talking about Dota.
Probably going to talk a little bit about Dota. There's a new update. The Winter Update 2016 brings the Battle Pass, which sort of replaces and includes the Compendium, which is the kind of digital program for all the big tournaments. The Shanghai Major is happening very, very soon.
Yes.
Very excited. But this is the first time they've really introduced an external meta layer of new gameplay systems to Dota 2. How do you feel about the quests?
Good and bad. It's hard to feel like one or the other because a lot of the quest items, the nice thing about the quest this time around, like they've had quests before, but this time it's sorted by role. So if I'm a support, or if I'm a mid solo player, or if I'm a carry, like you have these different paths you can follow, and so that the quests are more tuned to your play style. And you can change them when you get in your game too. So say your character you're gonna pick got picked before you grabbed it, and so then you can change it. So it's nice and flexible. But also sometimes they're still terrible for how you're playing, especially if you pick a character that's not tuned for that quest you chose.
So to expand on this for somebody like me who knows absolutely nothing about these.
Hey Dan, how can I help you?
Are these like achievement based quests where it's like kill X number of
yes,
Y?
but it's not like Steam achievements. It is internal.
Yes.
In Dota, there are achievements for doing. So it basically, it's in different layers. You get a quest. Mm-hmm. You decide you complete that quest. You get battle points. Battle points level up your personal profile, which is, it is what it is, just personal progress. But battle points also give you, they level up your battle pass, which is just the thing that is on your profile that shows you have paid for the winter update and you got the compendium. The higher the level that is, the more stuff you get. So you get treasures, you get loading screens, you get visual effects for certain items or whatever. It's just a ton of... Every time you level up, you get a new thing, and it's like super compelling for that reason.
Let me just go put on my battle pants.
Yeah. So you complete quests, you get battle points. Then you can do stuff like Miranda did great. I'm going to tip her. If I give Miranda a tip, she gets more points. But I also, because I tipped Miranda 10 times, unlock the achievement, which gives me more battle points, more items, more stuff.
Gotcha.
So it's this really, really addictive loop of... You want to play more to get to complete these quests. You want to play more to finish the achievements because you're going to get more battle points to get more stuff, which makes you...
This is the kind of thing that reminds you that at least at one point Valve had a staff economist. It's like they are stimulating the economy. Like how do we get people to spend in order to get more back?
And that is that, because if you buy the treasures instead of waiting to unlock them, hey, there's a really good chance you're going to get battle points or a really cool set for your favorite hero.
Yeah, so then even if you buy treasures, you can unlock more treasures, which might get you more battle points so they can level up even more.
Which has a chance to get some super rare items that you could, if you don't want, sell in the marketplace for lots of actual money.
Yeah.
It's a really good system, but to Miranda's point, it ends up becoming, okay, your quest is to do a certain thing. That thing might be something meant to encourage a good player habit, like buying wards and buying a courier and things that are...
Early on support quest, it's like buy 3 wards in 10 minutes, also upgrade the courier, also buy the courier.
And I've run into a lot of supports that could use that kind of coaching.
That's very basic stuff.
It's core to the success of your team. It helps everyone out. It makes sure that you are spending that money instead of somebody else who needs it for something better.
So what is the downside?
The next quest is stun someone for 90 seconds.
Yeah, keep someone disabled over the course of a game for 90 seconds.
Yeah, so you have to have accumulated that much time, but if you're not playing, say, I'm going to pick Bane because I want to just, nightmare people, which makes them stunned for a period
But hey,
of time.
I've never played Bane.
Yeah, but I've never played Bane.
So I'm
terrible. This doesn't help my team at all.
Right.
So that happens a lot. Or you're at the end of your quest line. So each of these 3 quest paths have like a final hero you want to play to get their special item equipment.
There's like a really elaborate set for 3 specific heroes.
Yes, but you have to finish it with that hero. So you'll see that hero pop up, but you may not necessarily be great with that hero.
Oh man, I played so many terrible Lena games because I needed to get.
Many people playing Lena.
But that's another thing where it's like they're just trying to get people to try characters that may not.
Which
have been
again,
tried.
it's a good thing. Right. And the other good thing is you have to actually win to finish these quests. Oh. The quests are only completed on the condition of victory. Mm-hmm. So it's not only are you potentially sabotaging your team by playing something you don't know, you're also potentially sabotaging the victory you need to complete the quest.
It's just dawning on me that these quests are not things that you do cooperatively against bots or something, that it's something that you need to play live matches for.
Yep.
That sounds like about the worst thing I would ever. I would never want to play with anyone who was doing quests.
So so we were streaming it and playing just for quests, and one of mine was to get these really expensive boots that give you mana within 10 minutes, I think, of the start of the game. And as a support,
mana boots in 10 for a support.
That's
dicey.
Expensive.
Even if you're
like
a pro,
I'm not buying any wards. I'm not buying anything. I'm just getting my boots.
It's like, okay, I guess I'm doing all of that because Miranda needs to finish her quest, and it makes the game harder for other people. But it ends up becoming like we stopped playing Dota to win. Even though you have to win to finish the quest, we were like, hats before strats was our quote. Because we wanted to unlock the hats.
Yeah, a weird thing too where we like coordinate, okay, like who's in the other quest this time?
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Who's on the hardest quest? Oh, we need to win 3 games in under 35 minutes? Goodbye, world. It's never going to happen.
Wait, 3 games total in 35 minutes?
Each game. 35 minutes.
Okay.
Oh god, that'd be crazy.
That's still bad.
It's already impossible.
Hard. That's still really hard unless you're really stomping a team.
Yeah.
But I mean, man.
And the thing is, these quests are really fun, and I love doing them, and I want them to come back. And I like that they make people play differently, and I like that it gives me a goal in this game where everyone's like, why do you play this same game over and over with all these same heroes and the same map?
So much to learn.
Right. And it also is nice to have something outside of the actual game that is, I'm working toward it by playing the game, which is really helpful. And Dota hasn't had that in a long time, and it's totally re-energized my love for this thing that I've already really loved, and I want to keep playing more, and it's great. But man, I'm playing real bad. I'm playing some bad Dota, and I'm making it harder for everyone around me who's making it harder for me, which makes for some bad games, and it's kind of, we're all in love with it, but we're also really bummed out because we're having such terrible matches.
For me, like anything that like busts a game out of a rut is a good thing. Like you don't want to get so polished at doing just one thing that you just do that same thing over and over again, because then you get bored.
Well, and I think that's why we'll probably never see these quests again.
Yeah.
Because every year, like right now, it's the Lunar New Year season. It's, what do they call it? The New Bloom.
New Bloom, yeah.
New Bloom. So instead of doing a New Bloom event like they do every year, they just
sort
of
rolled it in.
They
didn't do the winter event either. I guess because they now allow for custom maps. Before Dota didn't have that.
So now you can just make your own events.
Yeah, so you can make your own events. So they kind of had to figure, I guess, a new way to reinvigorate that.
Yeah.
Is it at least optional? Like, can you say I want to matchmake with other people who aren't doing quests?
And that's the problem. And it's the problem that, and we talked about this back on IGN Arena, where there was this event where Phantom Assassin, who, guess what, she's an assassin, had this role in the matches where it's like, okay, you need to assassinate one of these 5 heroes. And the goal became, okay, get the first blood on that, or kill that character before anybody else dies, and then win the match. And it became, okay, let's get our Phantom Assassin player the kill, and not let's win the game. And it made for weird Dota, and we talked then, like, you have to be able to separate people who want in for the event and people who don't. But then you also create the problem of, oh man, there's like not enough people playing the event because they just want to play Dota, and it causes problems. At that point, why do the event?
I think
there's no happy solution.
I think it was just really smart of them to make it so that you have to win in order to gain the
genius, right?
Because otherwise, you'd have people that are just ignoring the team and doing their own thing just to get their.
Well, they'd probably like, okay, I used to smoke twice and I quit the game, and it's fine.
Yeah. So, but making them stick around and play to win while they get this, like that's. Like it might make somebody who's normally a really good player not as good, but it's a handicap, right? It's somebody agreeing to handicap themselves in order to try and get this extra thing. Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like, I'm not playing as well as I could if I were doing the same thing I always do, but I'm having a new experience, trying to do something out of my wheelhouse, and but I'm still playing to win. So it's like nobody is intentionally sabotaging their team.
Right. You're just making bad decisions that could cost you the win. You
just
got to be careful about it.
You're not doing your exact optimized thing anymore.
Yeah, which is great because getting outside your comfort zone is super important in a game. It's all about like being perfectly comfortable in your comfort zone and doing that really well.
And in doing that, you might find something you didn't know you were good at.
Yeah, now I have a lot of competent Lena players. So.
Yeah, now I know that my team is going to be on top of rune control.
If anyone needs a Lena, we got one of those now.
So the guy here who doesn't play Dota loves it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think I would love it more if it was all about teaching people good habits. Like I love what you guys are telling about there being quests to like buy wards. That's great because like there's so many people who either don't play support or they play support and they just don't really know what that means, and so they don't buy wards. Or they're like, wards, courier. Why would I buy that? I want to buy. I want to buy
buy Desolator.
I want to buy Desolator as fast as possible.
Let me get my Ags first. Sorry.
Yeah,
guys.
exactly. This is
really
an
important.
This is an Ags first build. I practiced it 1,000 times with bots, so we're gonna need to stick with that. No, so I like the idea of it being a way to teach people good Dota.
But then you also get the quest. It's like, oh man, I need 2 more double kills this game, guys. Let me get the kills.
Yeah.
They got away. We lost because they got away. That'll happen.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a cool update. It brought you back to Dota. Like you'd been off for a while.
Oh
I feel like.
That's mostly because of Undertale. But
yeah, but now you're back.
I just played I have to finish my 4th playthrough, so.
Well, naturally.
Yeah. But yeah, I did. Since I bought the battle pass, I was like, hey, I need to play because I spent money on this, and now I want to win stuff. So it's important.
And now we're gonna. God, I feel like there's gonna be a few of us who spend a lot of late nights at IGN watching Shanghai matches.
Yep.
Woo! It's gonna be some late nights.
Yay!
I'm happy about that. Let's get away from Dota and talk about a game that's more on Vince's speed. Vince, you reviewed Street Fighter V.
Yes, I did.
Give that game a real nice score.
A pretty nice score. I wanted to give it a nicer one, but I couldn't because of what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, and it's one of those games. I feel like what was the exact score? 8.
I gave it an 8. 8 flat.
So just a flat 8.
Yep.
And I feel like it's one of those games. If you'd given it an 8 or you gave it a 4, I'd be like, yep. Either way, because the core of Street Fighter V, I love it so much. I love that you and I played a bunch of matches.
Yep.
And I played it at events, and I played at my desk. And every time I play it, I'm like, this game looks amazing. I love the V systems. Mm-hmm. I love these new characters and the way the old characters feel. I love the combat. I love these new relationships. Mm-hmm. Man, Street Fighter V is it's a hell of a fighting game.
Yeah.
But yowza, it's got some problems.
Yeah, and like those problems, it's an interesting thing. And Dan and I have been talking about this a little bit. So it's like. So we're talking about specifically the PC version here?
Yes.
Or, so...
I mean, there's been issues on PS4, and there is connectivity between the two, so there's relevance regardless.
They're pretty much they have exact feature parity because they're...
Yeah, aside from, like, the graphical... Obviously, like, the graphics options on PC, which pretty good. Pretty good PC port. Mm-hmm. It's got, like, a low-res mode that you can just boot straight into. It turns everything to low, and it still looks really impressive on low settings.
It's like a competitive game like that, for anything from down to... Remember, like, competitive Quake, they used to just turn everything down to nothing.
Yeah, competitive StarCraft,
like
competitive
Warcraft.
Warcraft.
They still do that just to optimize performance.
Yeah, it's like you want to get up to 140 frames a second on your crazy monitor. It's like, yeah, you can do it. Your game's going to look like garbage, but and actually sometimes it's easier to see things if the backgrounds are
with
not
turn
as
off
busy.
fog effects. I don't want anything in the way.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, yeah, that looks cool, but turn it all off because I need to see my opponents and nothing else.
Yeah. Anyway, feature parity across platforms. So you're good to talk about whatever.
Right, sure. So there's feature parity, but like that said, there's some features that aren't there that are pretty surprising. And it's amazing.
Feature absence parity as well.
Feature parity, feature paucity.
Right.
Ooh,
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. No, it's odd the things that aren't there. And then it's funny how basically it's a tale of two demographics. Okay, there's competitive fighting game players. Now, when I say competitive, I don't mean like you're actually a pro who gets paid. I mean like someone who approaches it with a competitive mindset. Like I put myself absolutely in that group of people. Like am I a pro? No, I'm not a pro. Do I approach the game in an academic way? Absolutely, I do, and I try to understand it. And
it's
learn
more about like, do you speak the game's language?
Right. Do you speak the game's language? And it's two things. Is your primary way of engaging with a fighting game to sit in training mode for hours and hours and hours to workshop different setups and combos and block strings and figure out, hey, this person put me in this really bad situation. I don't know what I could have done there. Let me recreate it with a recorded dummy and figure out a way out for 3 hours. And then when I'm done doing that, I'll grind on matchmaking for the entire night and see where I'm at, and then watch some replays.
Brenda just perpetually shaking her head.
Nope.
And then watch some replays and figure out where I went wrong in that last match.
Yeah, so is your approach to do it that way or to have fun?
Well, that's fun to me. Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's
for
where
me. For me, that's 100% fun. And
I think we all have that kind of game too.
Yeah, it's like that's. Sure. I'll go sit in Dota and learn
Watch
new
replays.
stuff.
Right. I mean, and I did that in Dota too. I mean, I did
Sure.
countless bot matches, perfecting build orders and perfecting. Sure, absolutely. Like, so that's the way in which I engage with games. And there's a certain group of people who play fighting games, not just professionals. There's professionals who do that obviously because they're doing it for money. But there's people below that level who engage with games that way. And for them, Street Fighter V has a terrific feature set. It still doesn't have quite everything that person would want, like multi-person battle lobbies, and a couple of other smaller things. But for the most part, the feature set there is really impressive, especially when it works. Now on PC, the server problems have persisted a little bit longer than on the console. The console server problems, which were really bad for the first 24 hours, have started to subside and get a lot better. And now, on several occasions now, I have been able to get on no problem and just grind matches for a couple of hours straight.
Good.
Just get non-stop matches.
Because that was the big thing for me yesterday. Like, I installed it on my PC and I played through a couple story missions, which whole other series of issues with how awful the story mode is, and how limited it is. But I got the hang of things. It felt good, and I was like, all right, cool. I feel like I know how to play Ken as competently as I can for now. I want to play a couple matches online. Queue. Wait forever.
Yep.
Wait forever.
Get kicked.
Uninstall game.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, it's been a big. So like I've had like two different experiences. I've had the Street Fighter V that works perfectly, and then I've had the Street Fighter V which is the Street Fighter V that I had during betas. It's the Street Fighter V that I had during my review process. And then the morning of release, there was the midnight of release, there was a different Street Fighter V where I couldn't log on for 10 minutes, and then when I finally did, I could barely get a match, and so it's. The launch was definitely very rocky, but my bigger problem with the game right now, where it's at, and why I couldn't give it a better score than I did, is because even with the excellent matchmaking and online experience, like once it's totally stabilized out, which it's getting there, thankfully, and we're seeing spots of it more now, but the bigger problem is what you said before: the limited number of modes for single player content. Now, there are some pros who are being very outspoken, who I'm not going to name specifically, who feel like it's ridiculous for anyone to complain about the lack of, say, an arcade mode.
Well, it's because the way they consume it and the way the average customer who's going to pay $60 to play Street Fighter is going to consume it. They want different things and they expect different things. And this is very much a game made for pros. Not even pros, but to your point about somebody approaching it with a competitive mindset.
Yeah.
You can go in and you can get everything you need because it's all there.
Right.
Getting the satisfactory competitive experience is absolutely there, and it's why it's a great game. It's why we gave it a great score. Mm-hmm. But for someone like me, who's a casual Street Fighter player, who really loves the franchise, I expect more from it. I expect more than just that competitive edge.
Well, it's because the expectations have been set over the course of this entire franchise.
2 decades.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the big problem. It's like you give all this stuff and then it's like, let's just take that away now.
Yeah.
Why?
And when you do that, for me, I install Street Fighter on my PC. It feels like an early access game. Mm-hmm. It feels like a game that is a promise of an idea, which, no disrespect to your score, I played so much Rust, promise of an idea. Literally, they canceled the game and restarted it, and I loved it. I thought it was a great game, and I would have recommended it to people. But it was early access, limited, problematic, all these things. Mm-hmm. And Street Fighter is that as well. I couldn't connect to multiplayer matches. The story mode is thin, and the cutscenes are really low rent, and the writing in VO is awful.
And just to jump in here, like usually with the multiplayer focused game, we do a review in progress around here.
Right.
In hindsight, we absolutely should have done that.
I feel that we should have. I agree. Yeah.
The reason we didn't is because this is not a game that generally requires complex matchmaking, like a lot of people being connected at once. It's 1v1.
Yeah, and obviously the netcode is important. Right. But your review establishes like the netcode is good.
Right.
Yeah.
It just there needs to be a connection.
Right.
Between players.
And historically, this style of game just has not had major launch problems.
Yeah.
Like this.
Absolutely. And that's kind of where we were all having this discussion as a group, a bunch of us, and eventually it did come down to like, Vince, like what's your beat on it? And I guess I kind of rolled the dice on this, but I looked back and I said, I don't remember a fighting game that's ever come out and been like, hey, the online is just a mess and you can't get on. Now, there's been plenty of fighting games with crappy netcode.
Yeah.
That's happened a lot, but that's not a matter of it being day one. That's like if it had crappy netcode on day -5, it had crappy netcode on day 50 and on day 500. You know what I mean? So, but I've never seen, because, when you think about the way people consume fighting games, it's not a first-person shooter. Like, it's not Call of Duty where it's going to sell 2 million copies in the first week or two, and a majority of those people are all going to play online. This is like, you know, a super successful fighting game is going to sell a few 100,000 copies in the first week, and then a fraction of those people are going to play online because everyone else just kind of wants to play a few matches with their buddies and play, you know, a few arcade matches, and then they're probably done with the game. That's just like the stat that I point out all the time. The people that when someone pointed out to me that I think competitive players, myself included, sometimes loses sight of, is that Street Fighter 4 has something like 9 million copies. Ooh. Okay. And so then the biggest fighting game tournament in the world, EVO, has a few thousand players. And so do that math.
Yeah.
So do that math. Millions of people bought the game, and there's a few thousand people who show up.
A fraction of 1% is involved in the hardcore community.
Is who's involved in that community. So you can't ignore those other those millions of people.
And like, even if you blow that out and you look at like the viewing numbers on those tournaments,
sure,
like, people who appreciate it on those levels, I don't know what those numbers are,
but they're not close to the millions,
right? Yeah. So if it's less than a million people, you know, even watching it, that's less than 10% of people who even care about the competitive scene.
Yeah, and and to be clear, like some people have felt like it's ticky-tacky or it's casual to be like there needs to be an arcade mode. The point
but that's fine,
right? And A, that's fine, but B, what needs to be said about that is that it's not just what the mode is called. It's arcade or it's story, it's survival. The fact of the matter is that right now in Street Fighter V, it is literally impossible to have a full standard rules match.
I can't play
with
a
the
best
computer.
of 3.
You cannot play a best of 3 rounds match without another human being, and that's completely unacceptable.
It's ridiculous.
It's completely
if I want to embarrass myself, I want to do it alone.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It just makes no sense to me because like that and that like. I don't buy the idea that it's like, oh, we didn't have the resources to do it in time, because that is literally the simplest mode in any game, any fighting game.
Yeah.
Like it's the first thing. Like you can't
AI
have...
exists. You can play the story on different
There's
difficulties.
AI.
You can play survival on different difficulties. You
it's
just
like,
need the rule set.
You can't really have anything else before you have that functionality. So the functionality is there.
It's
they
there.
just didn't build it into the UI.
It's also not in the main menu as one of the coming soon things, which is like, is this happening? Is it coming?
And that's the thing, we don't know. Like we know. So this is the thing. Like some people have tweeted at me, Vince, I don't know if you should have docked it for those things because they said it's being patched in March. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's not being patched in March. What's being patched in March is we're getting the store, we're getting Alex, we're getting challenges and trials and daily quests to like get more fight money. They have not. There is nowhere where Capcom has said, yes, we are adding a way for you to pick a computer opponent, pick who you're going to play against, and play 2 out of 3 rounds with them. And no one has come out and said
regardless, even if they had said that, like we still can't score a game.
Yeah, the review isn't live in February. The game's update is in March. Those things don't align.
Yeah,
it's not like, how it works.
Yeah, it's like we can't score based on promises.
Yes.
Yeah, I could not.
If we did, games would all get 10s.
I could only have and I sit here and I say that I find that unacceptable when I still gave the game an 8. So but to be clear, it only could have gotten an 8 by being so thoroughly excellent at servicing another demographic that I think is also very important and that I also happen to be a part of and that I care about. And if it didn't satisfy, and that's the thing about critique, right? Like, you have to weigh everything, and the fact of the matter is, like, you can't just look at one thing that something gets really wrong, even if it's really bad, and just say, well, that's it. That just makes the whole experience worth nothing.
Well, I think you and I talked about this at length when I reviewed Battlefield 4, is I wanted to give it a significantly lower score than we ended up giving it, because you and I talked about this for a long, long time, and you eventually convinced me, and we ended up giving it the score we gave it, because Battlefield 4, despite its awful campaign, no matter what, like, there might be people out there who do play it for the campaign, but you can't dock the game even though it has this amazing component that a lot of people are going to play. Like, there might be 2 different kinds of people, but you have to service the people who are going to enjoy it.
Right. I mean, the issue is we give 1 score for every game, even though, like, Battlefield multiplayer and Battlefield single player are basically 2 entirely separate games.
Yes.
But it's one package, and we're scoring the package.
And the package, despite having problems, pretty good multiplayer. You should check out.
So like if we were to say and this is true of like any game with like tacked on multiplayer or whatever, it's got a great single player game but terrible multiplayer. It's a great multiplayer game, terrible single player. If you like basically in your head give it 2 scores, 1 high and 1 low, and then average them out, like you're misleading both the single player audience and the multiplayer audience, because you're telling the person who's interested in multiplayer it's not very good, but you're telling the person who's interested in single player that it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And neither of those is true. So my philosophy as reviews editor here is to say, hey, we're gonna give the actual recommendation that, like, hey, I'm recommending this. Or not recommending it. Like I'm saying, like, this is a great game, and now I'm going to tell you why in the text. And like the text is like for any review, like going purely on the score. Like unless you know why a reviewer is recommending something, you don't know that much. You just know, thumbs up, thumbs down, effectively, or what degrees of thumbs up, thumbs down. But like unless you know why the reviewer is recommending it or saying it's bad, and like understanding like whether your tastes are going to align with that or your priorities, like you don't really understand it. So please read and watch reviews is my point.
Read the review. Wow.
Yeah. And like I think that's the only effective way to score a game, because that actually represents the way we think about it.
Right. Yeah, that sums it up. I think you put it as best as I can, and it's been a tough situation for me because it's tough to speak to both those audiences at the same time and write something that's useful for everybody. But that's my job, and of course it's funny because there are some people who are hardcore in the competitive community who incidentally like I'm friends with, I've played with, who I know, who are like, I can't believe you did this to Street Fighter, right? Who's that? I can't believe you did this to Street Fighter V. Not and then there's other people who on the other side of the fence who do engage more casually and want that single player content. And I think whether you're casual or not, I think being able to play just a standard match is not for casual or hardcore. It's just a standard. But there have been some people there who've been like, you were too generous. So it's like I got both sides mad at me. So I feel like I nailed it.
It means you're doing your job.
Yeah, that's what happens when you express an opinion on the internet.
Yep.
Now, what I'm kind of surprised they didn't do because this game currently is so plainly aimed at competitive players. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of surprised they didn't put it out and say like, hey, here's Street Fighter V,
like tournament edition,
tournament edition or competitive edition.
Yeah, totally agree.
And put it out at $40 and then put out the campaign at $20. As like an additional $20.
Right, like that's coming in June or whatever. Release that.
Mm-hmm. Now, Call of Duty.
Complete thing.
Call of Duty just announced that they are going to be releasing a competitive starter mode.
It's like $15 or $20 for Black Ops 3's multiplayer.
Yeah.
It gives you a discounted price if you decide you want to upgrade to the full game. And this is like a weird temporary thing where it's on Steam until the end of the month, I think.
It's totally an experiment.
Yeah, but it's really cool that they're doing
that. That's a great idea, and I really want to see more of that.
It's what we all say should happen with Call of Duty.
It's like, I never play the campaigns for Call of Duty.
Right.
I love the multiplayer. Just never think about the campaigns.
It's like you look at subscribing to cable and having to get premium for HBO, which is the only thing you want to get.
Yeah, it's like just give me cable.
Yeah, give me these games a la carte. Like even on PC, the Call of Duty has 2 different executables. Like it's 2 different games. Like, let me buy them separately. Why not? If I'm only interested in one and not the other. There are a bunch of people who only play the campaign and never touch the multiplayer.
That's absolutely true.
Like, why are you forcing those people to? I mean, obviously it's from bundling.
Money.
But it's not super consumer friendly to force people to buy both. And they could have done the same thing with Street Fighter. And I think that would have been a much more transparent way to sell what they're selling.
Yeah, I think the problem that they've run into here is that their messaging has been very clear from the beginning about what their business model for the future of Street Fighter was, which I thought was great. I think they made it clear that this is a service. They made it clear that they're never going to do a Super Street Fighter V, that gameplay content is always going to be free every time. Balancing changes, new modes, things like that are always going to be free, and that the stuff that's not free, which is just new characters which is just new characters and then like visual stuff, like cosmetic stuff, will be hats. Will be earnable with in-game stuff. So with in-game credit that you can earn. So they were clear about their business model, but they were never very clear about what was and was not going to be available for your $60 at launch, and that's what killed them. I feel like
and
if they messaged that,
regardless of how clearly, I think it's shouted from the rooftops. It wouldn't matter because most people who go to the store and buy Street Fighter V do not know about it. Don't follow Capcom on Twitter. Don't necessarily even read IGN. Like they would, like a bunch of people would go and buy it, and it would not meet their expectations.
Yeah, and that's why I said. That's why I said in my review, like if you're a person who looks to engage, whose way of engaging with fighting games is single player content, this game just doesn't have.
It's gonna be a real bad experience.
It has almost nothing for you.
90 minutes of story content, I think it works out to maybe 2 hours.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I couldn't agree. Like even as a dyed in the wool Street Fighter fan. And someone who's having a blast with the game and just cracking out on it constantly every minute I can. I still feel like they either should have been clear about either way they should have been clear about what was going to be in the box and not in the box on day one. And I certainly don't think that if you're a person who cares about single player content, that it's worth $60 for you right now.
Yeah, 6 months from now, I think it'll be a great game. I think it'll be the game that everyone wants. Because of feedback, the amount of the response right now, the negativity it's receiving. I think Capcom will absolutely embrace that, implement it, and make the game that people want. They're going to add all this extra stuff, all these modes, all these characters, all the systems they've promised. And once it's out of early access, it's going to be a great fighting game. Dan, we talked about our passions. We talked about Dota 2. We talked about Street Fighter.
I have to run.
Okay, Vince is out. Love you deeply, Vince. Let's talk about XCOM 2. A game that we keep talking about on this show.
Yeah, I pretty much. Well, I can't stop talking about it because I can't stop playing it. I have played virtually nothing but XCOM 2 since before it came out. It's basically my all-consuming gaming habit right now, and like because they put out modding tools on day one, I'm already playing with roughly a dozen mods.
Okay, has anybody done anything better than the Corgi gun?
I would say the Corgi gun was kind of a jokey like let's see if we can actually do this. There's somebody experimenting.
Everything about it is perfect.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have like a yip 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 noise.
I was wondering that would be so good.
So what's the cutest mod you have?
Oh, I like it.
The most fun mod.
Well, I mean It took about 3 days longer than I expected. I expected it to happen within a week, but they now have stormtrooper helmets in there.
Yep.
Perfect.
That's pretty good.
So that was I'm still waiting for like the full stormtrooper armor set, and I really want to just replace all the advent soldiers with stormtroopers. I think that'd be the best.
The Star Wars mods are coming.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Oh, absolutely.
The whole game will be reskinned. It'll literally be a Star Wars tactics game.
Lightsabers were one of the first things to happen because they just replaced the machete swords with lightsabers. I mean, there's a lot of cosmetic stuff I've been messing with. Shout out to Captain Bubs, who his mod is actually it's called Captain Bubs Accessories Pack. It's the #1 most popular thing on the workshop right now.
Wow.
This guy, and like I actually finally signed up for Patreon to kick him a couple bucks a month because like he's got a Patreon up saying like, hey, if I can get to $1,500 a month, I'm gonna do nothing but make XCOM mods professionally.
Wow.
And his plan is to churn out one of these things, like a new piece of equipment per week.
Oh, yeah, his stuff looks really good. It's all
awesome.
It looks like it's in universe, right?
It's professional quality. He's got berets. He's got like a face mask. He's got goggles. He's got all kinds of stuff. I really encourage you to check it out if you're in XCOM because it looks like it belongs there. It looks up to par with everything else, and it's just more cosmetic variety. It's great.
The mods I found do not belong in XCOM. We can talk about those later, though.
But yeah, so I've been using that. I've been using. There's another one that allows you to use the Advent helmets and armor.
Cool!
Actually, just today they added the ability to use the armor.
Do they do anything mechanically, or is it just cosmetic?
No, it's all cosmetic.
Okay, cool.
So most of the stuff I am using is all cosmetic.
Okay.
Or
except for evac
or UI tweaks.
Evac all
UI tweaks. Yeah. So the UI tweaks I think are super important. Evac all is the first one I installed, which was usually when you're extracting your soldiers from a mission that requires extraction, you have to move everyone onto the extraction zone and then individually push extract this guy, extract this guy, extract this guy.
Same thing with Overwatch. Like Overwatch all is really helpful for that too.
So now there's an extra button on the UI when somebody's in an evac zone. You just push that and everybody gets extracted at once.
Nice.
It's so much better. On that same note, there's one called Stop Wasting My Time. Very simply put.
Okay.
That just kind of speeds up a bunch of transitions. Like there just like a pause after a certain cinematic angle shots where they'll sit there, and it's like sometimes that gets screwed up and it takes a long time regardless. But just baked into every single one of them, there's like a second or so of pause, just letting that soak in. It's like I'll just cut that out. It also makes the Avenger move across the map faster, and just things like that. It's like a bunch of things that. So it's just like, hurry this along, come on.
Yeah.
And once you've been playing for a while, you really appreciate that because it's like, oh, I've seen this. Just let's move on.
Like, yeah, come on.
I don't need this Avenger to fly coast to coast in 10 seconds. Just get me there.
Yep. On those same lines, there's one called Quiet Bradford. If you've done like retaliation missions,
no, I don't think so.
Where the aliens are attacking a XCOM settlement or camp. And
is that when everything's like on fire?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've done this.
Yeah. So every turn, the aliens execute a civilian, and you're trying to stop them before they kill. You have to save at least 6 civilians. But every turn, no matter how many of those missions you go on, Bradford will pop up and say, they're massacring the civilians. You got to stop them.
Yeah.
Hey,
it might be worth giving up now and just coming home.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just stuff like I didn't actually say that. But
yeah, I get that a lot. Where it's like the mission's going terribly. You should just evac. It's like, man, I just got alerted. It's gonna be okay. I got this.
but yeah, those like every turn he'll say, hey, or just about every turn. This turns that off. And one of the annoying things is that like while he's talking, you're frozen. You can't do anything. It wouldn't be that as annoying if it was just like, okay, just say your thing and let me keep doing my thing. Yeah. But this just shuts him up, which is great. On top of that,
I want to know how many of these Jake Solomon has installed. It's like, yeah, Bradford is really annoying. Get this out of here.
Yeah, let's see. What else do I have installed? Yeah, so I also installed the what do you call it? So the official ones that were made by the Long War team.
Right. The submachine gun and the.
I've actually never used the submachine gun because I don't really mess with stealth that much.
Okay.
And it like sacrifices damage and range for stealth boosts. I don't even really know how it works. But I don't really want it, so I don't. I have it installed, but I don't use it. But I have. I also have their. Oh, you know what? I actually haven't even used the leadership abilities yet either. I need to do that in my current game.
Don't forget, Dan.
Yeah, so I've got a bunch of mods installed. I haven't even messed with. But the Muton Centurion has messed me up quite a bit. He's it's a reskin and a slight enlargement of the Muton. He's got more armor. He's got more health. He's got some vicious accuracy too. And he can also. He can do basically what the mutons in Enemy Unknown could do, which is they had a blood call. His is called War Cry. It's just like buff everything around him, as opposed to just buffing fellow mutons. So he can cause some real trouble. If, in case XCOM wasn't hard enough for you, Mitch, you should definitely install that one.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I've been playing on Commander difficulty, which is the second highest of 4.
Right.
And I've been playing on Iron Man. Which I've restarted many times. I've kind of lost count how many Iron Man false starts I've had, but I've got one going right now where I've gotten up to I've got mag weapons, I've got plated armor or predator armor, and I'm doing okay. But I think I'm losing too many people. It's very much
too many rookies sticking around.
Poor babies.
Just people in general, like
too many colonels going dead.
Hey, you know what? There's another UI mod that makes it so it only picks people from your character pool.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That was something I called out specifically in my review. It's like why is it mixing up randoms in my character pool? I've got a character pool of like 50 people.
Yeah, and I don't know Dave Jones. Get him out of here.
Yeah.
Where's Dan?
Yeah, it's like that was super frustrating because it's like I've got this list of people, but I can't pick like these people when I want them.
Yep.
And I can't even pick from a selection of them or have them randomly show up. I got these random people, and it's like, yeah, I could go into the character editor and remake these random people into people that are already in my character pool, but I don't want to do that because that's.
It's like, why would you do that? You already made people.
Yeah, it's like I already made these people because I want to play with them. So this is actually just a simple I tweak, and I was able to do that before the mod came around, but this just makes it super easy, just one button. So yeah, I strongly encourage use of most of those things. I've actually dabbled in the mod tools myself.
Trying to make some stuff?
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I followed a tutorial. I've been trying to get an IGN flag for.
Okay.
You create a IGN country basically, and that lets you put it on the back of all your soldiers' uniforms.
Cute.
And I've got it almost working. For some reason, I've got everything but like the thumbnail image that shows up in the menu working.
So it's in the game but not in the menu.
Well, yeah. So you can select.
Sorry, on the character but not on the menu. Okay.
Yes. For some reason, it's a garbled image, even though I saved it in the right format and everything. I don't understand, but
it's probably like 1 pixel off. It needs to be an odd-numbered pixel on the horizontal edge.
There's a crop somewhere.
I followed the instructions to the letter. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna figure out what's wrong there, cool. and then I'll put that up on the workshop and let people put the IGN.
That's good. I like that mod
on their thing. But yeah, hopefully by the time you hear this, I'll have sorted that out because I've spent way too long trying to figure it out already.
Let us know when you do that, because we'll news that. IGN will news that story.
I'm really excited about the potential for mods. Like this is a week and a half after launch, and we're already seeing some crazy stuff.
There are some crazy things.
And they're like,
you got a list?
Oh,
you got some stuff over there? Hit me.
Sorry, Miranda.
Give me the cute stuff. Give me the real mods.
Like some Hatsune Miku hair.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's beautiful and blue and flowing, and it can go on any gender character. And
beautiful.
It's just beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful.
You want your
all the genders.
heavies to have some Hatsune Miku hair.
Bring more anime to my XCOM, please.
More anime.
More anime, please.
A K-On voice pack. So if you haven't heard of K-On, it's about a music group. It's like a club in high school, and these cute girls, and they make music, and you can have them as your voice.
Sounds fantastic.
It's perfect.
Sounds fantastic.
It's my favorite club anime. So.
Just to interject, I'm looking at the most recent mods. There's a Homer Simpson voice pack now.
Beautiful. So that's the anime I can add to XCOM.
There's also somebody made a Metal Gear Solid headgear piece here.
Beautiful.
That's cool.
Also beautiful.
I saw some cool animal bandanas. So you get little bandanas and makes you have like a dog mouth or a cat.
Yeah, I
cool.
saw a horse head.
Yeah.
Horse head's really
Perfect.
good.
Yep. Yeah. So there's it's nice that you can really pick and choose and decide whether you want to go zany or keep all your stuff very in universe. There are a bunch of mods that make it easier, which make me kind of sad. But I mean, it's like
for babies like me who just aren't having
too.
fun.
It's like the people who.
Where's my no miss mod? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there are some that make swords never miss. There's some that. Which I kind of understand because it's really frustrating when you miss. But
it's a sword.
Well, have you never missed with a
never?
Yeah, it's like I mean, the one thing that people get really frustrated with XCOM about, I think, is like you were showing me a screenshot of like
98% miss,
and just like the gun being like right
in the guy's
face, and just it was like 60% shot. And it's like one thing I think a lot of people forget about this game because it looks so good is that it's still a very abstract form of combat. Like people are not actually like in the way this battle would actually play out. They're not all standing still.
Yeah, you're supposed to use your imagination.
Right. It's like when something has a high defense, it means that like they're like fast and nimble and can get out of the way of your shots, even though they're not actually moving on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a kind of abstract thing, and I totally understand why it's frustrating if you're not thinking that way.
Yes. XCOM 2, a game that I want to love. My favorite tweet from Jake Solomon. I lost it. I had it up and it's gone now, but it was basically a rookie and a stormtrooper go toe-to-toe, shoot 400 bullets, and both walk away unscathed. Even the designer knows this game sucks for the first 2 hours. He knows. Aww. He has no illusions. I like these mods. I think I'm gonna install XCOM at home again, and I'm gonna get all these baby mode mods and all the stuff that makes it efficient. Basically, get all the stuff that makes the game annoying and get rid of it all as much as I can. Get the Hatsune Miku hair, make everyone talk like Homer Simpson. Get a real great A+ experience.
Mitch, you know, I should sit down and I'll walk you through a few missions. And
I know. I need to.
Because there are a bunch of like kind of subtle things you need to learn about, like what not to do.
Yep. I'm a very brash XCOM player.
And even so, like I know a bunch of this stuff, and I still have bad runs where I just get wiped out. So it's I keep likening it to poker. It's like even a pro is going to have a bad hand.
It happens. Do you want to talk about this War Inspector thing like real quickly?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a ton to dive into, but War Inspector coming out of academic retirement to come back to game development, even after he said that he doesn't like sequels, he's going to work on System Shock 3.
Sequel.
Which I mean is great news for that sequel. It's like if you're gonna get the original people behind the whole franchise back, it's like that you couldn't ask for better.
Yeah.
So I mean my reservation is that War Inspector. There's actually a very famous IGN quote from way back in the day, where it was actually written by Steve Butts, our boss.
Yes, of course.
And he fully admits this is a ridiculous thing in hindsight to have done, but he quoted War Inspector.
Do you want to find the exact quote?
I think you should.
Just
we have to get this right.
Yeah.
For the historical record. But it is. If it were intentional, it would have been genius.
There's a tendency among the press to attribute the creation of a game to a single person, says Warren Spector, creator of Thief and Deus Ex.
Right, I remember that.
It's very good.
Yeah, and it's you just think of a person like him who was in charge of the team as and may have incepted the idea as the creator of this.
Yeah. I still think it works to say creator of Deus Ex because he was part of the creation.
Right.
That's why you would know him. That's why he's important to you as the reader.
He is a creator of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to follow up on his point, it's like you've got Warren Spector back. You don't necessarily have all of the people, like the mixing of people who were able to create a great game. If you don't have like that entire team back together, what do you really have?
Yeah, I mean, at least bringing back that one big creative voice in it is
absolutely.
important.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's impossible to know. As he himself was pointing out there, it's impossible to know like what that game would have looked like if it had been just his vision.
Sure.
Or the many other designers and producers and artists who worked on it, they all had their input into that project. So Warren Spector's version of it is not necessarily going to be the version of it that a lot of the fans would like to see. Not necessarily. It could be.
Yeah, it's like you always need your editor. So it's
very
like someone,
true. Yeah.
You always need someone to look over your work because even though you may think it's great, it may not be.
Yeah.
So
unless you're George Lucas, Hideo Kojima, or Peter Jackson, you just do what you want.
Yeah. Then you see where that goes with the prequels.
Please don't be George Lucas.
Please don't be Peter Jackson either.
Yeah, but I think obviously it's good news. I'm just trying to temper it.
Yeah,
and it's not necessarily the second coming.
I see this less as. And this might be a little pessimistic. I don't see this as a move by other side, the developer, to get the designer of Deus Ex, this original guy, to come and help them make a great game. I see it as like a Kickstarter bullet point when this game inevitably becomes a crowdfunding thing.
That's true. I mean, it's definitely a crowdfunding pleaser.
Because if you're just, hey, we're a developer and we're going to do System Shock 3 and we've got some old school talented developers on the team, that's less exciting than like we got Warren Spector.
Yep.
It's a really good bullet point.
Yep. Yeah, and just having his endorsement is a big thing. Like whether he was on the team or not, and who knows what capacity he's actually involved in it. Maybe he just did say
he's like a studio director, so I almost wonder if he's like in a more business capacity.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. It seems less creative than I think people are probably expecting.
Yeah, or maybe it's a part-time job for him. Who knows?
It is full-time. They said they hired him full-time. Like, he's quitting his teaching job.
Yeah.
So, TBD.
Yeah,
I mean, this is something we'll definitely learn more about and probably talk a lot more about as this game becomes
and hopefully we'll get to talk to him about it.
Yeah. All in good time. All right, let's get out of here. Miranda, where can people find you on the internet? What are you up to?
You can find me on IGN Anime Club.
Yay, anime!
Yay, anime! We're about to record that next, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, nice. You don't even have to. You and I can switch chairs.
I'll be up pretty soon. We talk about anime this week. We're talking about anime movies, and we're giving stuff away. So if you like anime, you should come tune in.
I do like those. I've heard of cool movies.
Yeah. Some real cool movies.
Cool movies. Dan Stapleton, what about you?
Working on the refreshing the top 25 PC games list.
Oh yes, I owe you shorter. I just remembered I owe you things.
I already fixed it.
All right, cool. Thanks.
I fixed your thing.
Thanks, because I'm dealing with DICE and GDC and running news alone, and everything is great.
You got it.
Hey, help.
So that's a project right now.
Okay.
We just kicked all the Fire Emblem Fates reviews out the door.
Yes.
And
someday Digimon Story Cyberslave.
Yeah. Hopefully Miranda will finish that eventually.
So
we didn't get that one until it came out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So. And working on
Far Cry Primal's coming up next.
Far Cry Primal
review
and then Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 2 and there are a couple other things I forget.
February's busy month.
We're spinning a lot of plates.
It's a lot of Viggies. Is there a Pokemon game?
Pokemon,
Yellow, right? Yellow, red, and blue.
Yeah.
Got the new Walking Dead, Michonne.
Oh yeah, God.
All kinds of things coming up.
It's exciting. I am reviewing 0 video games. Please read all of our news coverage from DICE and from GDC, which is coming up in March.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm not reviewing any of those, but I have to
overseeing.
That's all. You're doing all of it, Dan.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm playing XCOM.
Check out, you may have noticed if you're a subscriber of IGN Overclocked, which you can be on iTunes, 5 stars, that we put a little surprise in there. It's the 90-minute Firewatch spoiler cast. So if you played Firewatch and enjoyed that game, definitely check that out. We've got the video on IGN. We've got all the breakouts, so you can watch it by topic if you'd rather not watch 90 straight minutes of Firewatch conversation. The thing is awesome. We had 4 people from Campo Santo in here talking to me and Marty, just secrets and behind the scenes and making of. It's really, really awesome. Those guys are super funny, super charming, super talented. Super happy to have them in here. Super duper. Cool. Yeah. Should we get out of here?
I think so.
This is IGN Overclocked episode 21. Again, if you're listening to this, we did it! Thank you for listening.